All right. Well, I know people are continuing to join. We're going to do a little different format today. We're kind of shaking it up a little bit. So I'm just going to give you a quick layout. I am going to go through island updates and national updates, at least the most prevalent ones, potent ones right now, because there is a lot happening, as Eric said when we first jumped on. And then we're going to transition. I'm going to share. I know we usually open up with a pule or breath or just a moment, and we are going to do that. But I'm going to get through the heady stuff because what JP is going to share with us today is really going to bring us back into our heart and a way of being. And so I want to kind of move through the heady stuff rather quickly so we can get to what I feel like is the heart and soul of this particular meetup. And so those of you who have been with us for a while, you know that.
Can I just interject for one quick second? Can you give Jake co-host, please? And then can you also give me co-host so we can mute people
yes,
if necessary? Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Jake. Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. So we do have Jake, who I affectionately call Jake the Hammer, Eagle. But we might kind of turn those reins over to JP a little bit today. So I don't know, but Jake still has permission to be the hammer on me if I start getting too wordy. So I'm going to jump right in. I want to start off I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. Let me know if you can see that okay. Can everybody see that okay? All right. I want to make sure I start off with some pictures because you are really the heart and soul of this campaign. And I shared all these pictures on our social media at Hawaii for Kennedy. And I think I failed to share them in our meeting last week. So I apologize for that. But this is our Ohana in Kauai. And I mean, I absolutely love it. This is their sign waving. They have another one coming up May 24th. You can reach out to Wendy for that. I know you're going to have some breakout rooms, so you can talk about that a little bit. But I just love these pictures. And what's so cool about sharing these pictures on our social media is other people share them. I have to tell you, everybody loves to see what's happening in Hawaii. And this got shared through American Values, which is the super PAC who created the Super Bowl ad, the new Where is Bobby movie. They posted these pictures. They reposted what I shared on their feed, which is 26,000 followers. So it matters when you share pictures. The campaign has specifically asked for us to share more pictures that they can repost, because this is what's unique about this campaign is people like you out there pounding the pavement, doing the good work, sharing the message. So please, please, please keep sending pictures, tagging us. People are starting to really tag us in our social media, and I love to see that. So thank you, Kauai. You guys are doing awesome. I also want to say a big mahalo to our Maui Ohana, specifically James. I have to show you some of his artwork. I know some of you saw it when they had their recent Earth Day. It was hanging behind them at their booth. This is They Heal the Planet, but he also did this great one of Nicole and this super cool, I love this Pono 24 bumper sticker. There you go. It's like a Maui special, well, Hawaii special, because we keep saying this campaign is about bringing Pono back to politics. So love that, James. Thank you so much for sharing that. Big Island, our Big Island Ohana is moving and shaking, and I apologize in advance. I know there's another event coming up tomorrow morning, and I could not find the flyer for the life of me, but if Megan's on here, maybe she can drop it in the chat, because there is a coffee/kombucha time at the Booch Bar happening on Thursdays. So please join the Hawaii Island for Kennedy Ohana there. If you got a dog, show up at the beach for a dog walk at Mohea Bandstand on Thursdays. And then they have another coming up, another grill out / meetup coming up on May 12th. So there you go, check it out. And, screenshot this. You can also find it on our social media, but I love to give you little visuals that you can just easily screenshot, and hopefully you'll remember it and share with your friends. Here on Oahu, we have rescheduled our regenerative farm tour and potluck. That's going to be on May 31st. in Waimanalo at Ahiki Acres. It's going to be really incredible. Hope you join us for that, or send your Oahu friends to that. And then we're continuing the first Fridays at Morning Brew Coffee in Kailua. They have been incredibly supportive of our movement, and we've created a nice little community there. They just love to see us showing up and talking stories. So, and we also have merch available. Some of you asked about merch. These, at least for Oahu, you can pick up merch at either of these two events. So drop in, join us, and get a bumper sticker, get yard signs, whatever. Just a quick reminder to definitely visit Kennedy 24, and you're going to hear more next week about the RFK app. Perhaps you've downloaded that already, but I encourage you to go to Kennedy 24/events, share the events that you see there, show up to the events, RSVP, and host an event. You don't need anybody's permission to host an event. You can be like, I want to do a hike, or a barbecue, or a gathering at, wherever, and you can show up and create your own event. And if you don't know how to do that, reach out to me. I'm going to have a little training on how to do that. It's not hard. Once you learn it, I'm telling you, it will not take a lot of time. Just another reminder, if you're new to this meeting, I really encourage you to follow us. You can join us on Instagram at Hawaii4 Kennedy. That's the URL, or the QR code for the URL if you want to do that. So take a picture of that, or just jump on there right now and follow us. We are really starting to get some great momentum and good engagement on that. The Facebook page, this is the Facebook page. So if you're a Facebook person, join us on Facebook. We post the events here across all the social media. We do our best to keep that updated. So jump in there and please share. And then next, okay, every week we show you this ballot access update, and it is getting very, very exciting. We have 11 states now and counting, and now they've started to show the eligible electoral votes, which is really exciting. And I'll tell you a little inside scoop. There are actually more states that are closer than you think in this map, but you've heard how everything's being challenged. They're not releasing that information until sort of at the last minute, where they know they're not going to be challenged, or they have overcome some legal challenges, just as we did. So be prepared. I'm going to tell you right now, there are, I think, about 3 states coming up soon. And I'm going to leave it to our guy to talk about this a little bit more, as well as some of the exciting news that's happened this week. So here we go. Hopefully, hopefully my sound is optimized. Will you give me the wave down if my sound is not optimized and you can't hear this? Because I don't know that I did that when or maybe I should just step out and come back in and reshare. What do you think, Kamaile, my tech guru? Should I back out and come back in and optimize for sound?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now we should be good. Here I go. All right, you can still wave me down if you can't hear it for some reason.
Yeah, we're both, Eric, thanks for having me, first of all. We're both speaking at the Libertarian Convention in Washington, D.C. on May 24th and 25th. I've invited President Trump to debate. He's repeatedly said that he is willing to debate anytime, any place. He said that he specifically would debate me as long as my poll numbers are up. My numbers now in the latest Quinnipiac poll and the CNN poll exceed the 15% threshold. We also have just done the biggest poll of the campaign. Typical polls, Eric, are around 22,000 people, 1,200 to 2,000 people. Our poll was 26,000 people. It costs almost $200,000. The value of this poll, other people would charge $500,000 for it. It is so large that it has virtually a zero margin of error. And that poll shows, we did head-to-head races, and that poll shows that in a head-to-head race, I beat President Trump narrowly, and that I beat President Biden in a landslide. That the poll also shows that whether I'm in the race or I'm out of the race, President Biden cannot win the race. And in fact, President Trump wins 2 extra states if Maryland or Virginia and Maine, if I drop out of the race. But the poll shows me that the first time in history in head-to-head races, a third-party candidate beating the candidates of both political parties. And that's unprecedented.
Here you are, and you put this open letter out. Have you heard back from the Trump campaign?
We have not heard from him yet, but we hope to hear from him, and I hope to see him at the Libertarian Convention. The other news that we have is we got on the ballot in the state of Delaware. So we now have sufficient signatures for 11 states. We're getting 2 or 3 states a week, and we'll continue doing that until we have all 50. We will be on all 50 by July. And something that, again, has never been done with this many, a million signatures. We're going to get almost 2 million. We're going to get about double what we need to give us a big cushion, because the DNC and the RNC are both trying to throw us off the ballot because they don't want to have this contest. And then, the last piece of news is that we put out 2 days ago, we put the Super PAC, the Kennedy American Values Super PAC, put out a 30-minute video called Who is Bobby Kennedy? It's narrated by Woody Harrelson. It's a very, very powerful video, and it already has 100 million views. Both Facebook and Instagram have been actively censoring the video. They've been removing it from people's platforms, and now they continue. Now we've called their attention and threatened litigation. They've allowed people to actually post it, but they are shadow banning it and slow walking it. So we're looking at our litigation options right now, but over 100 million people have now seen that video.
So I want to get to that in a second. It's a great video, by the way. I've watched it in full. Back to the debate, and we'll get the other. You sure you want to debate Donald Trump? I mean, there are stages littered with political careers everywhere in the aftermath of people wanting to debate Donald Trump. The guy's a master debater without a question. You up for that? You ready for that?
I am, and I agree with you. I think President Trump is arguably, well, he's certainly the best debater in modern political history. I would say since my uncle. My uncle was also a very good debater, and who knows, what would have happened if my uncle had come across Donald Trump. I can't imagine it, but you could argue that he's the best debater since the Lincoln-Douglas debate. He's gone through, as you know, in 2016, he went through 16 opponents and, left them all in mayhem.
All right, so there you go. Could be a debate coming up soon. Check it out. We'll find out if Trump accepts, but he's game. He's up for it. He made the invitation. So, okay, quick show of hands. Who watched the Who is Bobby video? Or I guess you could drop it in the chat too. Okay, it's fantastic, isn't it? Did anybody experience any censorship when if you were sharing it? I know I personally shared it kind of through text. Did you? Okay, so yeah, some people shadow banning, things like that. Yes, it's real, and it's kind of crazy. Bobby posted this, I guess, early this morning. He's like, I must have missed the nude scenes in the Who is Bobby film, so screenshot. If you're getting crazy censorship, things like this, the campaign is asking that we all screenshot it because they are literally creating a file, not just to share on social media and put a little pressure on them, but they actually are putting together some potential litigation for this. So the more, if you have screenshots, you can just text us, tag us, and share it. But it's kind of humorous, violent content, sexual, activity. No, none of that. There's none of that in that. I wanted to share a couple of things. Many of you have reached out and just said what a huge impact it has had. I know I've personally shared it with people that were sitting the fence. I shared it with a friend in another state who she said she categorized herself as somebody who's ADHD and would not watch a long video, but I sent it to her anyway. She watched it and she was like, wow, I had no idea about him. Then she proceeded to, I said, well, check out some podcasts. And I just mentioned to her the Jocko Willix one because she had mentioned him. This was somebody who had previously been in the Navy, and Jocko is a former Navy SEAL. And she ended up listening to the 3-hour podcast and just sent me this message today. She goes, okay, I'm probably 95% voting for RFK now. So,
How's this
and
going?
so you can see what I asked her next. What will get you to 100%? Just curious. And there she goes, more podcast. So this is fun. Engage with your friends, especially that are sitting the fence with this video. This is another one of you who shared, and with some of your skeptical friends that maybe didn't have any awareness of Bobby before. And this one, okay, he's likable, watched it and will follow. Another person was like, oh, I was sitting on the fence about supporting, but I feel excited now. So this just shows you the power of that film. It's 30 minutes. It's really great. And there's people that just watch even the beginning and get hooked because the beginning is so good. So if you haven't watched it, please do. If you haven't shared it, give it a try. It's just fantastic. So that's the Who is Bobby. If you're not familiar with that, we'll make sure we share that link. I believe I actually shared it in the email that you should have gotten with this link. And now we're going to start to transition. I know I'm going fast. I apologize in advance, but I will take your questions at the end because I really want to transition into the heart and soul of this. And I'm going to lead in. I know I usually end with this question, but I'm going to ask you this question. How many times in your life do you get the opportunity to change the world? And we really have an opportunity here in Hawaii. And what came up for me this week, for those of you, did anybody see the video with Auntie Blanche that was shared on social media? If you have not seen that video with Auntie Blanche McMillan, who is a force of good here on Oahu, you must watch that. Because when I watched it, she reminded me of someone that I have only known through my kumu, and that is Auntie Palahi Paki. And anybody familiar with Auntie Palahi Paki and the Aloha chant? I know some of you might be. Okay. Well, Auntie Palahi Paki in 1970, she was at a governor's conference. She was invited to be in the audience for a governor's conference where they were talking about how to approach the year 2000. So you think about that, 30 years in the future. And they were talking about how to legislate, how to lead with aloha. And by that, they had to define what is aloha. And she rather spontaneously stood up and she gave the meaning of aloha in a chant. And I'm going to offer that chant with you today as our way of kind of centering and pule for today, leading into what JP has to share. But this is something that she said, and it really has struck me when I think about this campaign. Back in 1970, she said, the world will turn to Hawaii as they search for peace because Hawaii has the key, and that key is aloha. And so we really are the aloha in the world. It is not just for Hawaii, it is for all of us. And I will tell you that the campaign is taking note. And her words, her mana, it struck the legislature so profoundly that there is actually written into the state law, the Hawaii statutes, the Aloha Spirit Law. And you can see it here. It's in Hawaii Statutes, Chapter 5. And this is the meaning. You could look it up. I also have, this is kind of Auntie Palahi Paki's translation. So you can screenshot that, or I'll provide these later. But I just want us to really let that sink in to how each and every one of us has an opportunity to show up as the aloha we wish to see in the world. So with that, I want you to just take a few breaths and perhaps close your eyes. And I'm going to share with you the Aloha chant. Akahae na Hawaii, lo kahia kulike, olu olu kamana o, ha'ako kulana, aho nuia lana kila, aloha. Take another nice deep breath and just feel into your heart as we welcome and invite our special guest today, John Patrick Morgan, and who I've just recently met, but I'll share a little bit about him. He is on Maui. He lives on Maui, and he has been a real mover and shaker for Maui and a blessing to those who have been struggling as in the aftermath of the fire. So he raised, I hope it's okay for me to say this, but he was part of an effort to raise about $1 million for our Maui Ohana who were impacted by the fire. So thank you for that, JP. John Patrick Morgan, or JP, as his friends call him, is a practical philosopher, writer, and the founder of Creating, which is a body of perspectives and practices for spiritual growth, worldly success, and social impact. Post his formal studies in physics and mathematics, JP turned his fascination with how things work to the dynamics of business, relationships, and being human. This took him on many adventures, including building multiple businesses, traveling the world for years on end, competing in martial arts, fitness, endurance sports, and studying the world's philosophies and religions. 15 years ago, JP turned his passion for a self-dialogue that elevates the human spirit into an outward-facing practice. Through this, he discovered and came to live the purpose of his life, which is to champion the one person in front of him, to see them fully, love them deeply, and through piercing dialogue, grow their freedom, love, and power. He resides with his wife, his 2 boys, his 2 cats, and 30 hens at his homestead in upcountry Maui. And we are honored to have you. JP is also closely aligned and has done work with Charles Eisenstein. So if you're familiar with Charles, he's one of the senior policy advisors to Bobby Kennedy. And it's just a joy and honor to have you here. So thank you, John.
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Gina, for introducing me to Susan and to this group. Steve, good to see you, man. Thanks for connecting me with the Kennedy campaign here on the island. I look forward to hanging out more at the farmers market. So just to create some context why I'm here, I was just sharing earlier with a friend that, like, when I heard Bobby speak, suddenly I felt like this spark of, you know, like, actually, if you can go back, if I can go back 6 months, or if we can go back 6, 8, 10, 12 months, whenever before we got connected to this possibility, there was this sense of, fuck, what the hell are we going to do? You know, like, I couldn't see a story, a vision. I couldn't see anything happening in the political arena that I could, like, be like, that's what I want to support. It felt like, what is the least worst thing to settle for? Like Bobby talks, the less of 2 evils. But it was like this kind of almost an apathy. I wouldn't say I was completely disengaged, but it's like that feeling. And so as soon as I heard Bobby speak, I felt like, oh my gosh, yes, something that I could believe in, something that feels beautiful. And you know, you mentioned, Susan, that I've been a student of Charles's work. He wrote a book called The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. And when I heard Bobby speak, I heard him speaking to something more beautiful, something that was possible, instead of being better than the other guy or getting away from something bad. And that's how I live my life. I mean, that's literally my life's work. It's like helping people to be connected to something more beautiful for their world and to create that. And so I got really excited, and you know, I've never had a political bumper sticker or a sign or anything. And now I've got the t-shirt, I've got a sign in my yard. And so I'm just saying, yes, I'm just surrendering to this call, which has led me here. And the way that I always feel to contribute is in the way that I have the most skill and ability, which is in conversation, helping people to create the world that they would love to be in through bringing attention to their way of being. That's literally the essence of my work, is just looking at who we're being. You know, to make being not a concept and just really grounded and simple, like somebody's being kind of a jerk or somebody's being really nice. Like we know what that means, right? Like that's what being is. And obviously it's not just those two options. There's being really powerful and enlightening and enlightened and inspiring. Being somebody that's extremely kind and compassionate, like a Mother Teresa or something like that. And so being is yes, it's like a big concept, but it's also something that I believe that once we put our attention on it, it becomes very practical and very accessible. You know, there's that old quote that's often falsely attributed to Gandhi. It was actually by a school teacher, but be the change you wish to see in the world, right? That's the simple idea. So that's all I do. That's literally my whole day, every day. That's my work. And so I just wanted to bring some of that conversation here because in the little bit of experience that I've had being in conversation with people about the campaign, I know from my own experience meeting people that not everybody you meet is, hey, hell yeah, I'm a big supporter. People have questions, they have confusion, they have ideas because of wherever they've gotten their media that are completely misaligned to what's actually going on in Bobby's campaign and what he actually stands for. And sometimes they even have anger. I mean, when I was with Steve at the farmer's market last week or 2 weeks ago, I mean, so one guy drove by in his truck. I don't know if you noticed, Steve, but he just like shouting out the window, like mad at something at us. Like, I don't even know what he was saying, but it was just like, just from a distance, just anger that we were even there. And then of course, there's people that come up a little bit more polite, but also challenging and stuff. And so I know, I mean, we all know from being in political conversations where you have something you're passionate about and somebody else has something they're passionate about, it's not easy to navigate that conversation in a way that moves the other person towards that more beautiful possibility. It's not. As soon as that energy is there, I mean, for me, the hardest place is with my mom. You know, like how do I be in a conversation with my mom where there's energy, a difference of opinion? My dad's all Trump, my mom's all Biden, and I'm over here. So it's like I've got to we all have people in our family we navigate that with. So how do we meet that? And so I wanted to share this just simple question that you shared, Susan, in the email you sent out. Who would Bobby be in that moment? And it's not what would Bobby do? I mean, that's a cool question too. I think they used to ask that about, though I saw an article written about his dad, what would Bobby do? But I'm actually saying, who would Bobby be in that moment? Who would he be? And you might think, well, I need to be Bobby in order to know who Bobby would be in that moment. And this is the deeper point. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the reason that we see Robert F. Kennedy running for president, and we want to support him because who he's being is somebody that we know inside of ourselves. Who he's being is a possibility that we know. We know that a leader can be a good person, can be a loving person, can be a kind person. We know that somebody can stand for something and be willing to die for it. And all of these qualities and stuff that we see in him, we love that in him because it's a part of us. And it's a part of us that we are coming into contact in the projection of Bobby. And so to ask the question, who would Bobby be in this moment, is really to say, who would I be being in this moment if I were expressing myself as the ideal, as the person that I know that I could be if I were at my best, my kindest, my most loving, my most clear-sighted, my most unwilling to be pulled into a divisive conversation, you know, my most open-hearted. I just want that interview that we mentioned earlier, like the freaking willingness for him to say to the guy that was asking him a tough question, you know what, I'll need to think about that. I don't have an answer right now. I haven't considered it. That's so powerful, right? And so, and we can see that, and we like that, and we support that because that's who we are. And so the question, who would Bobby be in this moment, is really, the question is also, who are you when you're at your best? And that's a question that I think is not just something to contemplate like philosophically, but it's actually a tool that you can use in a moment where there is energy that's starting to rise in a conversation, and it's starting to feel like divisiveness is increasing instead of moving a person into support of the campaign. So that's the concept, that's the idea. But the way that I really like to bring these things to life is through dialogue. And so what I love is to have some conversations with you guys. I'd love to have a conversation with a few people around maybe some story about some confronting moment that you've had, and we can just work through how it would have gone if that were Bobby instead of me or you in that situation, and then glean some insight from that. And then you see, oh, this is actually a tool that I could use next time somebody's challenging me or whatever. And then I'd like to do some breakout rooms where you guys get to pair up and practice that together, because it's really a practice. It's a practice of accessing our best way of being. And here's the other reason I think it's important, not just to have it be a little bit easier for us, I actually believe that the person that comes over to the table or that you meet online, that it's not the reason and the rationale that's going to move them to be interested and open to this conversation, to supporting this campaign. It's their experience of being in conversation with you. You are the touch point to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the way that you navigate that dialogue. So we need to be an expression, an extension of the possibility of the vision that Robert F. Kennedy is standing for and carrying. You know, he's carrying a torch, but we need to light ours off it and be that too, and bring that own light in every conversation that we're in. Because, I mean, just like that video, I mean, videos are great too, but they're capturing your heart. And so it's your way of being in conversation with people that is the opportunity to capture their hearts. Because we know if it's like, so how many times you're like, oh man, I wish Bobby was just here and he could talk to them. Because he would get them. They would just melt. Be that. You wish that because you can see something in him that you can be. So I'm a champion for us all expressing that. So I love the dialogue. So who would love to share, go first? And basically all I want to do is just chat with you about a situation that's come up. Maybe a time somebody yelled something or it was a difficult conversation, and how you felt in that. And like, maybe we can create some ways to navigate that differently through this inquiry. Yeah, we'll start with you, Gina.
So thank you so much, JP, for being here.
You're welcome.
And this is so just personally perfect for me, because one of the things that has been revealed to me as an opportunity working on this campaign is, in the last decade, I've been able to curate my life to be, I have a lot of control in my environment. We moved to Hawaii, and we keep, we're able to keep ourselves surrounded by people who give us energy, and we just have freedom to not deal with people who drain. And so I sort of stumbled into this because my family went and saw Bobby in January. That's where I met Susan, was at Kim Haynes' house. And we were so inspired. My family jumped right in and went out and got a whole bunch of signatures. And it was like, just like locusts. We just went out and did it, and we were just riding high. And then the next layer of opportunity, which is put a sign in my yard, put a bumper sticker on my car, and I have just felt so frozen and kind of gone to sleep a little bit on just my own experience of what you're saying and the power in being, and have gotten really caught up in my just triggers around conflict, just being super conflict averse and not wanting to get ruffled, not wanting my little aloha vibe to be messed with by vitriolic people. And so I'm so excited that you're here I just really see this as a preparation for just being reminded that it works in this arena, the political arena, because I'm so conditioned to just automatically feel that divisiveness in me and feel like a pressure to pick a side or to defend Bobby. And so the opening here for me is I just feel really hopeful, because I still feel very, for instance, my neighbors, I live in a very Biden area, and just passionate Biden. And I've already been silenced in my neighborhood for bringing forward conversation about Bobby and, you know, why I love him. And so, yeah. This is, I mean, for me, the example is very real. Yeah.
It's a great place to start, because sometimes the conflict we're having with people in the conversation around Bobby is imagined. It's not even happening yet, and it's therefore cutting us off from taking actions that would pose the possibility of having that actualized and actually having to have that conversation, right? Like my sign, I put my sign in my yard. I was a little bit like, okay, you know, putting the sign up, hope nobody smashes my windows. But like, and then like I came back from a trip and it was gone, and I was like, oh fuck, somebody ripped it. And then I found it in the bushes, so maybe it blew away. Then I waited a few days before I put another one up, but like, so I get it. I get it. Susan and I were talking about this yesterday. So I want to present a possibility that one of the things that we're excited about with Bobby is that this, well, for me, I should speak for myself, not us. We all have different reasons, but this willingness to face what we won't speak, but is a possibility that he acknowledges, and which is why he wants security and needs security, right? He's putting himself out there as a third Kennedy. There's kind of a pattern, right? And so it's like, that's like the literal example of a willingness to risk one's life for something. And I am inspired by that, maybe others. And that inspiration is me feeling my own capacity to risk in projection. And so actually, when I see that, if I can acknowledge that that's me, that's actually me, then I can find within myself my own willingness to lean into whatever the right edge is for me and my life and my family and put the sign out. And it's like, it's not like, oh, I'm definitely going to be safe. It's no, there's an opportunity for me to take a risk in service of something greater than me. And this might be the most I ever risk in my life. I might not run for president, risk losing my actual life, but I might put a sign in my yard, or I might share something in an arena where I don't normally share it. Or I might say that one more thing or ask that one more question in the conversation that takes it a little bit more in the political direction when I'm getting some pushback, right? So where am I afraid to die? And what if what it takes in this campaign is for all of us to just take a little bit more risk? And so that's the first piece, right? That willingness to risk for something greater than us. But then here I come with my first aid kit to help you still, if when you face that risk and it hurts a little bit, with this question: who would Bobby be in that moment of supposed conflict, the arising of conflict, pushing back, challenging? Because we already know he's going to be the person that takes that step forward. But then what's he going to do when they start getting agitated, when they start getting angry and pushy? Who would he be in that moment? So we can play it out with an imagined experience. Let's take somebody in your neighborhood when they are silencing you. If it were Bobby that they were trying to silence, who would he be in that moment? What do you know? Who do you know that he would be in that moment that they were trying to silence him?
So I love the question. And I have taken more risk in this than,
Yes.
for instance, if anybody tried to define if I was a Democrat or Republican and look through, social media, I have never one time taken a position on it. And
Yeah.
the deeper shadow of that is because of the loss of the one that I would offend. And I have Republicans and Democrats on both sides. And so, yeah, the experience that I'm having, that I'm looking for a breakthrough on, is when I have taken risk in my neighborhood, I have been banished, vilified, everything that's happening to Bobby. Of
Yes.
course, on a personal level, but I've had the
Yeah.
experience of being rejected and counted, and yeah, it's really bringing forward my own shadow right now, because I've sort of created my whole life, that I've got my whole life set up that everywhere I look, I just get a reflection of love and beauty, and yeah, I do see it as an opportunity. So I am looking forward to this preparation to take this on and be the unconditional loving regardless, and emulate who
I think
Bobby.
that's the answer. I think then you've just given the answer. I think that you're right. He would be unconditionally loving towards somebody who's quote unquote banishing them. And it's almost like you can't really banish somebody who loves you when you try to banish them.
Say that again.
You can't really banish somebody who loves you when you're trying to banish them. They might not be around, but it's not really banishment anymore. The love kind of wins.
Yeah. And I think too, if I'm being totally honest, I can sort of, my identity in the world is the unconditionally loving person. And it can drop down pretty deep, but
Mm.
I'm discovering in this a deeper body of maybe just my own unresolved stuff that I may look unconditionally loving, and I may be able to lean into that with the person who's banishing me. But this campaign is forcing me to go deeper and
All
deal
of
with
us.
deeper, it's bringing to the surface stuff.
Yeah, for all of us. It's an invitation for us to do what he's doing at the scale that it's our own edge, right? You know, like we are all being invited. This is what I'm talking about, to the precipice of risk for something greater. And we don't have to do what he does or what Gina does, but like, what is us, just like one step into that. And, you know, for me, just the way that I relate to unconditionally loving, the degree to which I'm unconditionally loving is really dependent on how honest I am about there's always another condition that's outside of my awareness that I've yet to discover. So it's perfectly fine, in my opinion, that you found, oh, I've got some conditions. There's probably always going to be some, just like, you know, somewhere. So I get curious about where's the next one that I can't see.
I love that.
So yeah,
Thank you.
great. Thanks, Gina. Let's see if there's anybody else who, oh yeah, Nicholas, what's that, man? Love the hat.
Hi, I'm Nicholas
hey.
Kirby, and I have a quick question about
Yeah.
a situation that I'm dealing with.
Hmm.
So I have a close friend of mine that I've had since high school, who is a Trump supporter. I think, as you know, Donald Trump supporters might be a little bit more, say it a term, hard-headed than Biden supporters, I guess, that I've dealt with.
Yeah.
Has brought to me some videos. Okay, Junior stumbling on a trans right issue. The trans rights issue, it specifically was about transgender people under the age of 18, in which he said that I'm voting for Donald Trump, and he's not neutral on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So, what would some advice be from you to talk some sense into him?
Okay. So I'm not, that's a different question than the one that I am here to prepare you, supporting you with. So I don't know that I would see Bobby as somebody who believes his job is to talk sense into people. So I ask the question every time I don't know how to handle a situation in this campaign. If I'm supporting him, it's not like, what would I do to talk sense into this person? Because if I answer that question, then it's what does John Morgan do? Not who would Bobby be in this moment? And then I'm not really being a stand for the campaign and its vision. I'm being a stand for me trying to win an argument. And so I don't want to win. I don't want to win, not as much as I want to be that possibility. And this is kind of out there. I was hesitating to say it, but I'll say it, that I care more that I vote for Bobby than whether or not he wins. I want him to win. I think he's going to win, but I care more that I vote for him than whether or not he does, because that action is an expression of, it's a commitment to a way of being that I want for my kids, for my family, for my island, for my country, for the world. And so I'm just throwing it back to you a little bit, because like, what if we shifted the question, man? What if we said, you know what, when my friends come in with that, who would Bobby be in that moment? Not who would Bobby be to convince him, or who would Bobby be to like set him straight, or whatever the thing is. Who would he be in that moment? Who would he be? And I think that, you know, you've got the hat, you spent time with him, this guy's in you somewhere, and it's a part of you. And if you ask that question, I think you're probably going to get some sense of an answer. So I'm throwing the question to you right now, literally, who would Bobby be in that moment with that friend? What do you see?
I think Bobby would try to find a reasonable middle ground.
Do that. Nailed it. Do that. So I think that's enough to demonstrate the point. Can we do breakout rooms real quick?
Yes.
Susan?
I
So
will
I'd love people to pair up and practice. Just take a few minutes. Share a situation. This has been challenging. The other person says, well, who would Bobby be in that moment? Just help them get to it. Flip it around. try the same thing. Just want you guys to try it on.
And JP,
Cool.
really quick, I
Yeah.
just have a clarifying question. So it doesn't have to be, it could be any challenge in your life. It doesn't have to be your challenge in
Good
this.
point. Yeah, it doesn't have to be within the campaign. It could be if you don't have something directly in the campaign, in the context of the campaign, then yeah, any challenge in your life, I think it's still useful. Great point, Gina, because somebody might not have a challenge specifically in the campaign yet. Thank you. Cool. Everybody,
Okay.
anybody else have a question? We all game to do this for a few minutes? Okay. Oh, you have a question, Carol?
Yes,
Yes.
we were at the sign waving and at Earth Day here over on Kauai, and that's the only time I've really gotten anything negative come back at me. Our neighbors and our friends have been very open and willing and nice and
Mm.
saying, "Oh, we really like him." So it's just strangers that
Mhm.
we've met at the sign waving or at the Earth Day thing that have said kind of negative things to us, like,
Mhm.
I take my voting very personal. Like, I'm not going to tell you if I will vote for Bobby or not. Or
Mm.
someone that just acts like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So we were just trying to hand out some stuff to them. And then at the sign waving, occasionally somebody would drive by and most of them were very nice, but every now and then somebody would scream out like they were scared that we were going to let Trump win.
Right. Right.
How do
Or
you
the other way.
answer somebody
Yeah.
that is so negative and so fearful?
How do I, John Morgan? I mean, I could tell you, but I don't know that that's going to be as useful as who Bobby would be in that moment.
Yeah, I was
Right.
kind of shocked. I didn't know what to do but smile and wave.
Yes.
There you go.
So let's just try it. I mean, the smile and wave is good. That's what you knew what to do. Maybe you're going to get the same answer if you go to who would Bobby be? But I want to take this opportunity right now while you presence this to just ask yourself that question, or I'll ask you. In that moment of that person screaming or shouting, who would Bobby be in that moment? Who do you know in your heart he would be in that moment?
I don't know. Because
Okay.
I'm still kind of stuck on what should I really say to that person besides smile and wave.
So I'm not asking what he would do.
Okay, what would he
I'm
say or
asking
be?
who would he be? Who would
Be.
he be? And then the point of the question is to bring you into your heart in what you know and who he is. And once you connect with that, a saying or doing will just pop out. But who would he be in that moment? Meaning, like, just imagine he's there and it happens. And what is he feeling? What is he experiencing in your imagination?
Probably just peace and calm and just moving on to the next thing.
Yeah. You do know.
Yeah.
This is the practice.
Thank you.
The breakout rooms are not evident below.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we?
So
Hello.
Sweet Kamile had created these other breakout rooms, but for some reason I'm only seeing the island breakout rooms. So we could go to the individual islands and you group yourself by
I
island.
think by time we need to do that pretty much anyway, and you guys could just have a go at it in your little island rooms. I think
Okay.
that sounds good.
All
Did I
right.
see another
I
question?
think Zach's been trying to ask a question.
Zach, let's do it, man.
Yeah, it's not really a question. It's just that I have like been putting on Facebook, this and that's like the only social platform I have, and getting a lot of negative feedback from both sides. And what I would say is the reason, there's many, many reasons I believe in Bobby, and I believe in all of us together. And I think what you're saying, JP, and the bigger thing, even bigger than Bobby, is unity. Like,
Yes.
it's that we can all come together for a message that we all know everything is wrong. Not everything, but we all know that the things that are happening are wrong. And we all know that Bobby's the only one talking about any of these things that are actually important. And so what I've done in my feedback to this just onslaught of like, you're a spoiler candidate and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, we can address the spoiler thing individually, as in Bobby pulls from both evenly, so you guys can, and that stops it right there as far as like if you're Trump or you're Biden. And be like, I'm not against you. Like,
Yeah.
I want us to all be on the same team.
That's the key,
So
yeah.
that's
That's
not
the
really a
being
question,
piece.
but that's how I've been dealing with it. Is just
Yeah.
like, dude, the message of Bobby Kennedy is bringing us together, not taking us apart. So with everybody with their
100%.
anger and all that stuff, it's like, dude, we're on the same team, man. Same team.
Yeah. I think being that
So I just
is
want to throw that in.
is even more important because there is what he would say and what he would do in that moment. But if it's not coming from
Yeah.
the same being, then we're like arguing his point, but with our energy instead of his, and then it's not doesn't sing in the same way. So well done. Cool. Thank you guys so much. We're gonna go into breakout rooms, I guess. So love you all and we'll see you again.
Yes, thank you
My
so
phone's
much.
gonna die.
That is fantastic. So continue the conversation in your breakout rooms if you would like, and I hope you will. And of course, I know many of you have some island business to deal with as well. So the breakout rooms are open. You should be able to see them if you click the three